2018 Peugeot 3008 SUV Review. The good points of Peugeot 3008 SUV. Sharp, striking exterior styling. Slick, distinctive home design. Punchy 1.2-liter petrol and 1.6 diesel. Large, usable boot space. More luxurious than old 3008. The bad points of Peugeot 3008 SUV. Below per automatic gearboxes. Suspension could possibly be smoother. Range-topping engines underwhelming. Diesel versions slightly noisy. The first Peugeot 3008 was obviously a mishmash from your people carrier as well as an SUV, with questionable styling but a spacious, family-friendly interior. The new model is more definite. This is often a 4x4 wannabe with bold looks, raised ride height and a lot of ground clearance. Don't feel that this is an actual off-roader, though. Four-wheel drive will not be available even though traction-maximizing grip control, a process that adapts towards the type of surface you're driving on, may also help in some circumstances. That is a car designed greatly for tarmac. Peugeot even goes so far as describing the 3008 as sporty. The 3008 faces more information on established rivals which claim to offer the same recipe of any high driving position, practical interior and affordable running costs. Leading the charge will be the Nissan Qashqai, which includes sat high up the UK bestsellers list for quite some time, using the Boldly-styled Kia Sportage and pricier VW Tiggan gunning for similar customers. Other competition can be purchased in the form on the just-launched Sitka, together with sleek and affordable Renault Kadjar as well as the fun-to-drive Mazda CX-5. Where the 3008 bests all rivals, however, is within its ultra-sharp styling and super-simple interior, which features a shrunken tire, with digital dials above as well as a driver-canted center console that includes large touchscreen infotainment system. Eye-catching in and out. It's this amazing style which should persuade buyers to go to their nearest Peugeot dealership. The 3008 actually is an attention-grabbing machine inside flesh. Managing combine a high stance with boxy but dramatic lines, the 3008 makes the majority of compact SUVs look bland and old-fashioned. The interior only adds on the feel-good factor, with plush materials like fabric and wood fabrics used through the seats as well as the dashboard, as well as a strong feeling of quality. This is important, taking into consideration the starting price hardly sneaks below the £22,000 mark, with top-spec models rising above £30,000. Comprehensive engine and trim choice. Engines cover anything from a 130 horsepower turbocharged 1.2-liter and 100 horsepower 1.6-liter diesel, the previous available in manual and automatic form, to some 165 horsepower 1.6-liter petrol along with a 180 horsepower diesel, both only sold by having an automatic gearbox. There's another 1.6-liter diesel with 120 horsepower sitting from the middle of the number. Emissions of all versions bar the strongest petrol with mud and snow tires stand below 130 GkM. Specification levels change from active to range-topping GT. Basic active trim probably will account for a handful of sales, with well-equipped Allure adding Satan and sharper styling. GT line models obtain a sportier look while top-spec GT models, only available with all the 180 horsepower diesel engine, have Mercedes-aping black wood dashboard trim. GT line and GT versions can be specified which has a two-tone black and grey coupe French finish, in which the front two-thirds on the car is color, while using rear third being black. Unlike many SUVs, It's the most cost-effective models that produce the most sense with decent performance and low running costs, because automatic gearbox that's standard on one of the most potent petrol and diesel engines is frustratingly dim-witted and negates the benefit on the more powerful engines. The verdict. The Peugeot 3008 SUV is something of any revelation weighed against its predecessor. Peugeot has been able to create a desirable and striking family car that won't only look great for the driveway, nonetheless it has space with the family, drives well and won't cost a bomb to operate. Its party piece is the stunning interior though. Just stick with a more modest model and you also won't be disappointed. Plenty of engine choice inside 3008. Automatic gearboxes from the most powerful. Lower-powered engines the most beneficial. 6 engines are available within the 3008 with 100 horsepower to 180 horsepower. Fastest really are a 180 horsepower diesel and 165 horsepower petrol, which have a reasonably sprightly 8.9 seconds to accelerate to 62 miles per hour, while with the other end in the spectrum a 100 horsepower diesel has a lengthy 13.1 seconds to amble for the benchmark speed. Why should I pick a 3008 petrol? If you need a petrol 3008, you've got a range of 2. First up is often a 1.2-liter 3-cylinder unit named PureTech 130. As the name suggests, it provides 130 horsepower and is often a great fit from the 3008 which has a useful 230 Nm of torque available. The engine is smooth and powerful and feels well suited towards the car. It'll complete the benchmark 062 miles per hour sprint in 10.8 seconds which is capable of reaching a 117 miles per hour top speed. It makes essentially the most sense to people on a budget or individuals with more to invest, if you steer clear in the power-sapping automatic gearbox that's provided by this engine. If you desire more power coming from a petrol engine, there's the ETH165. It's a 60-minute 6-liter turbo petrol pushing out 165 horsepower and 240 Nm of torque. It'll sprint from 062 miles per hour in 8.9 seconds, however it's only available having an E6 automatic gearbox. It can allow it to feel more lethargic around the move and, consequently, it doesn't believe that much quicker versus the PureTech 130. However it'll reach higher top speed of 128 miles per hour. Why should I go with a 3008 diesel? Kicking over diesel lineup is usually a 1.6-liter Bluety unit, only obtainable in entry-level active trim. It offers up 100 horsepower and 254 Nm of torque, however it's the slowest in the bunch. You'll need patience since it takes 13.1 seconds to go to 62 miles per hour from your standstill, and definitely will top out at 108 miles per hour. Next up is often a 120 horsepower version in the same unit. It feels a lot more flexible because of 300 Nm of torque. It makes all the 3008 feel much nippier and even more at home within the motorway, too. The 062 miles per hour time drops to just 1.2 seconds, while top speed increases to 117 miles per hour. This engine is available which has a choice of 6-speed manual or 6-speed automatic gearboxes. Stick while using manual though, it's much slicker and nicer to drive as opposed to indecisive auto. Providing another start power can be a 2.0-liter Bluety 150 with 150 horsepower and 370 Nm of torque. The 062 miles per hour sprint time drops again, right down to 9.6 seconds, and it'll get into gear to 129 miles per hour. At the top on the tree is usually a 180 horsepower Bluety diesel available exclusively having an automatic gearbox. While it has ample power on paper, the simple truth is the automatic gearbox saps power and can make it feel much slower than you'd expect. Enjoy it does inside depth 165 petrol. A chunky 400 Nm torque figure provides a good amount of punch, but you'll need patience because gearbox decides how to proceed if you put your foot down. It makes it so 62 mph duration of 8.9 seconds feel more stressful than you'd expect, too. The way the 3008 handles varies between models. Lighter engines feel most sprightly. Automatic gearboxes limit fun factor. As with performance, it is a tale of two halves. The 130 horsepower Peugeot Petrol model feels light and nimble around corners, while using 120 horsepower diesel simply a step behind. The much heavier 180 horsepower diesel feels unwieldy and high in comparison, though most drivers won't want to get more grip with any 3008. The 165 horsepower Petrol may weigh similar to 120 horsepower diesel. Even so, the automatic gearbox diminishes its driving experience, making for jerky progress around corners, whether you exit the gearbox to its own devices or take manual control while using paddles placed on the leader. As a result, it's the less satisfying machine-driven automobile. The feel with the steering varies by model, too, though all use a tiny tire, which can be flattened for the top and bottom. While this may mimic a Formula One wheel, it's incongruous in a very road car, as unlike around the track the place that the wheel barely turns between full right and left. In the 3008 the irregular shape makes corners an irritating affair. It is harder to adjust your grip when turning while you don't specifically which bit on the wheel you'll get. The lighter models give a reasonably good feeling of control throughout the wheel. The steering felt slightly less intuitive inside the more powerful models. Despite the small wheel, what's more, it feels like you need to turn this greater than expected to make bends, making the squashed shape from the wheel more irritating. A sport mode for that steering is usually available. Even though this adds weight, it may feel artificial, offering you less a sense of connection using the front tires, especially together with the heavier engines fitted. All cars are super easy to maneuver out, however. Interior will be the 3008's showstopper. Striking design and plush materials. Won't suit all driving positions, though. Peugeot will not be a brand famed for offering tactile, high-quality interiors in the cars of old. Even so, the 3008 can be a big step above older models, with unusual wood and fabric trims on offer plus a striking overall interior layout. While you won't mistake the cabin for just a Volkswagen, it can do feel well built, so you can spot design cues paying homage to current Jaguar, Audi and Mercedes models. As a result, the 3008 supplies a strong feel-good factor to the price. The small tire, with instruments viewed over it, might be an acquired taste, however the cabin mostly is effective. The virtual cockpit-style digital dials can present many different combinations of information, from traditional analog gauges to some pared-down setting which shows an electronic speedometer but not much else. What may be the Peugeot 3008's virtual cockpit? Satan of instructions will also be overlaid on these, though we found it irritating that directions completely obscure the rev counter from the conventional display, an essential dial in the car with the engine as quiet because the 130 horsepower petrol. With mode selected, which has a roller turn on the leader, it's super easy to jump from a single mode to another within the move. The touchscreen media system, meanwhile, is leagues more usable compared to the system in other Peugeots, such because the 308 hatchback, which includes an unresponsive screen and frustratingly convoluted controls. The screen can also be quite large compared to many similarly priced cars, such as being the Renault Kadjar. There are extremely few physical controls throughout the cabin, bar a distinctive line of 7 identically sized silver switches and 6 buttons below these. Despite the slick form of these, the simple fact they all check out same and possess small logos with them makes them unnecessarily tricky to differentiate when driving. Comfort levels won't disappoint. Some designs have stiffer seats as opposed to others. Suspension takes up majority of bumps. Style plays a big part from the 3008's interior with black, textured, aged oak trim on GT models and fabric dashboard detailing on some Allure cars. This style does include a cost, though. The fabric seats that has a ridge continuing to follow the center in Allure cars may look really good. These aren't by far the most comfortable, while using ridged fabric digging into front passengers' back somewhat. The suspension is also a bit more yielding on rough, bumpy roads too. While the vehicle shrugs off undulations wonderfully, bad bumps and ruts from the road they make themselves felt greater than many drivers might expect from your car with off-road pretensions. Space levels are wonderful, however. Avoid the glass roof, and passengers both in rows should have an abundance of head and legroom, while using flat rear floor leaving many foot room for 3 by sitting alongside one another. The high floor in comparison together with the seat base includes that taller people may suffer like they're looking at a small child's chair, using their legs slightly too big compared together with the rest of their body. Specify the glass roof and headroom is just a little on the tight side for taller passengers, nevertheless it does include a nice quantity of light to the cabin, especially on models with dark roof lining. Engine refinement is really a bit of any mixed bag. The 130 horsepower Petrol motor can be quite smooth and quiet, emitting an eager thrum when worked hard. Both 120 horsepower and 180 horsepower diesels are not able to hide their collection of fuel, especially the automatic in the 180 horsepower unit, but they are adequately hushed for your class. The 165 horsepower Petrol tested, meanwhile, was somewhat more coarse than expected, especially considering how muted small petrol engine is. Opt for the model with wide tires and a lot of road and tire noise is audible, though narrower tired models are a lot quieter. Wind noise, around the other hand, is not really audible. Lots of ordinary equipment. High-spec models won't give you wanting. Mid-range models represent the most beneficial value. You are unlikely being disappointed because of the kit trust in even entry-level 3008 models. It comes which has a generous quantity of standard equipment, as well as a lot of desirable optional extras. Standard Peugeot 3008 SUV equipment. All 3008s have a big raft of safety kit along with an 8.0-inch touchscreen media system and 12.3-inch configurable digital dials. Peugeot says it tastes buyers decide on pricier but better equipped models. Safety technology available for the 3008 includes automatic emergency braking, activated if the car senses a hazard ahead that this driver hasn't taken care of immediately, and adaptive cruise control, which looks after a safe distance behind the automobile in front, even though it decreases or quickens, plus a speed limiter function. Peugeot 3008 active standard equipment. Entry-level active models have a generous number of kit, including 17-inch alloy wheels, DAB radio, mirror screen, enables mirror link, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, automatic lights and wipers, lane departure warning, autonomous emergency braking, dual zone climate control, Rear parking sensors. Peugeot 3008 Allure standard equipment. Jump around mid-range Allure for a far more comprehensive kit list, including things like 18-inch alloy wheels, black and chrome exterior trim, sat-nav with 3D maps and voice control, active blind spot detection, active lane keeping assistance and advanced driver attention alert, tinted rear windows, front and rear parking sensors plus reversing camera, power folding door mirrors with blind spot detection, attractive fabric interior trim along the dash and doors. Peugeot 3008 GT line standard equipment. GT line models include some exterior styling features for a eye-catching look. Black door mirrors, checkered radiator grille, black roof, chrome exterior trim, full LED headlamps with scrolling indicators, wireless phone charging, black headlining, leather and fabric sports seats with contrast stitching on seats and tire. Peugeot 3008 GT standard equipment. GT models ramp up the kit count, adding this over GT line trim. 19-inch alloy wheels, aluminum roof bars, panoramic sunroof, chrome door mirrors, keyless entry and ignition, electric tailgate, gray oak interior dash trim, full leather upholstery with electric adjustment and massage function for your driver's seat, front seat heating and adjustable seat base extensions. Optional Peugeot 3008 SUV accessories. If the typical kit isn't enough, you'll be able to venture to the options list. Here, you'll locate a 10-speaker 515-watt focal speakers, a 360-degree Visual Park system that helps you see everywhere in the vehicle when parking, and grip control, consisting of 18-inch alloy wheels with mud and snow tires and 5 different modes for max traction in tricky driving conditions. This system optimizes the auto for driving in normal, snow, mud and sand conditions, using a final setting turning the soundness control system off altogether. It also includes hill assist descent control, which helps the automobile to tackle steep downward stretches safely. Lots of ordinary safety kit about the 3008. Various driver assistance systems. 5-star Euro NCAP score. The 3008 scored a maximum rating of 5 stars when crash tested by Euro NCAP in 2016. The car scored equally efficiently for adults inside front seats and children within the back. Pedestrian and automatic safety equipment didn't quite match the most effective performing cars for the time, though a raft of kit can be acquired including sets from lane keep help automatic emergency braking. Most models feature a different Safety Plus pack which warns drivers to vehicles inside their blind spots, keeps the car in the lane on multi-lane roads, driver attention assist, which gauges regardless of if the driver is remaining alert, plus high beam assistance, which prevents drivers from dazzling oncoming traffic by switching between main and dipped beam automatically. Optional grip control, including mud and snow tires, offers greater safety for winter driving and working with muddy or cold and wet terrain. This traction control system really helps to maximize the grip the vehicle has, with some other settings ensuring the highest chance of keeping moving for the respective terrain. Plenty of passenger space. Boot is one from the biggest to use class. Neat practicality touches, too. Bypass the Pinnacle Room's tealing glass roof along with the 3008 can be a practical family car. The front armrest is mammoth, practically swallowing the trucker or front passenger's entire arms if and when they need to salvage anything from the underside. The armrest storage is accessed with two horizontally split parts, which open more easily for the move over on a part lid hinged with the back. There are two cup holders positioned in the front of this, plus usefully sized door bins. The glove box is for the small side, however. The boot is quite large, meanwhile, with 520 or 591 liters of space available depending about the position with the boot floor, expanding to just 1,580 liters should you drop the trunk seats, much larger compared to Nissan Qashqai. The flat rear floor makes slideshow viable 5-seater, with space with an adult middle-ear passenger. The front passenger seat might be folded flat, meaning you may load items of as much as 3 meters long. As you move the boot possesses an adjustable floor with removable side panels with regard to added practicality. The size with the 3008 is average for your crossover class. It's larger as opposed to Nissan Qashqai, nonetheless it's with a par with all the likes with the Cetica, VW Tiggan and Kia Sportage. Will the Peugeot 3008 SUV integrate my garage? It doesn't feel too big to manage within the road, though, and once it comes to parking in the tight spot, lots of assistance systems like parking sensors and cameras help to supply a clearer picture of what's taking place around you. Will my luggage fit from the Peugeot 3008 SUV? The 3008 offers up one on the largest boots rolling around in its class. With the trunk seats in place plus the adjustable boot floor to use lowest position, a large 591 liters of space can be acquired. Position the floor somewhat higher up in line while using boot sill, and it's still an amazing 520 liters. That's more compared to the 510 liters offered from the Cetica. It's all too easy to tumble the seats down, increasing capacity 1,670 liters. From October 2017, GT line and spec models will include a boot floor which slides out by 30 centimeters to help loading heavier items, too.